I knew it. I knew it. So anyway, let me give you guys a quick little tidbit or backstory about what's going on. Recently, if you've seen any of my videos, like in the last couple weeks, and if you're not living under a rock and you are a gamer, especially on that RPG side of things, there's been a lot of games that have dropped. And when I say a lot of games have dropped, I mean the HD remasters of Suikoden 1 and 2. You've got Assassin's Creed Shadows, Alteria, Yumia, Monster Hunter. What else just dropped? Oh, Lunar is about to drop soon. Xenoblade Chronicles X, and Square Enix had like a major sale in the middle of March. I'm gonna say probably like a 60% off, and just happened around that time. I was thinking about Final Fantasy 12. Why Final Fantasy 12? I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship when it comes to Final Fantasy 12. I bought Final Fantasy 12 day one. I was in line at 10, 11 o'clock. For those of y'all remember, GameStop and places used to actually do midnight launches and releases. And I remember driving to my local GameStop. I was living in the Bay Area at the time, and picked up Final Fantasy 12. And it was a lot of people there, which still doesn't surprise me because Final Fantasy 12 is one of the best-selling games within the franchise. I still, as a matter of fact, have the gold-plated tin case. Beautiful. Beautiful. Geek's Kiss. Great. The only problem with it was, this is where the love-hate situation comes into it. Final Fantasy 12 took me damn near 17 years to beat. And not because it was the difficulty, not because the game was bad, but the game had this weird thing where I always got stuck at the same part. And what I mean by getting stuck, again, it's not the difficulty. And I love the Gambit system. It was, what's my motivation? What's my motivation? First and foremost, I hated Vaughn as the main character. And I know that Vaughn was added later on in the game. I also understand that they took references from Vaughn, you know, with the whole Treasure Island, and we were supposed to be getting his youthful point of view. I actually like Pinello more than I like Vaughn. Vaughn was useless, not in battle. In battle, he was only second to my G Bosch. I would always get stuck right in the desert area right before you go in, where you're going around those big corridor thing that like I want to say the oil area where it looks like it's like an oil factory or everything, where they're fracking. I always got stuck on that part and was just like, I don't care anymore. It wasn't up until the end of 2021, early 22, when I finally beat the game. I also always thought it was just kind of bland because, as we know, the story is just Star Wars medieval. And another issue I always had is, how dare you, matter of fact, not how dare you make a story about airships, but we don't even get a chance to fly our own airship. Yeah, we get in the airship and we can traverse in the airship, but at least let me press the triangle button to be able to talk to my people within the airship like we did on the Ragnarok and like we did on the Highwind. I mean, or even how we did on Sid's ship on Final Fantasy X. So that I thought was a way missed opportunity. Ash was Leia, Vaughn was Luke, and I wasn't really a fan of Pansy Luke until he came into his own, like right on the last episode of the original Star Wars. Bosch was Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I was Obi-Wan Kenobi, especially the sequel or the prequel Obi-Wan Kenobis and his own spinoff. That Obi-Wan I like. We knew Balthier was freaking Han Solo, and we knew that Thrawn was Chewbacca, except, I trade Thrawn for Chewbacca any day. any day. As far as Penelo, I'm not really sure which she fits. Maybe she was a CP30 or RD2 or RD2, you know what I mean. You know, nothing really grasped me enough because there was no central love story. Ash's dude died right in the beginning of the game. But through all of that, and finally beating the game, and the way this man Bosch looked at Ash, and the way they always had these weird, sexual tension, chemistry moments between each other, the love and hate and the passion, even if it was 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or just briefly, like in the end of the game, made me always theorize, have a theory, a fantasy theory, that them two hooked up at the end of the game. So after some research, I found out there's mods for the game. And let me tell you, there's a lot of mods for Final Fantasy XII. And just so happened, Steam had a 60% sale. So bada bing, bada boom, booted it up, and now I'm making Ash the main character. If any of you guys still use GameFAQs from like 9 to 10 years ago, someone put up a link talking about a canceled game called Final Fantasy XII Fortress, which was supposed to be developed by a Swedish game developer named Grim. This was going to take place in 2008. The story was set several years after events of Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings. The plot revolved around a magical fortress designed to defend Evelance from a being known as the Sea King Lamond, who rose every 10,000 years to attempt to conquer the land. During his last attempt, he was slain and his crown was lost in the fortress, who seek vengeance against the killer's descendant, who just happens to be Queen Ash of Dalmasca. Though the myth is disregarded, the story is believed by Bosch, now serving the current Arcadian Emperor Larsa. This guy. A central character plot was to be a romantic connection between Bosch and Ash that would fade as Larsa and Ash grew closer and Bosch become entrenched in his fight against Lamond. What I really would have liked to see, just listening and digesting it while doing the video, is if they did this love triangle with Bosch, Ash, and Larsa. If they did something like, I don't know if anybody out there in the interweb remembers this old, I want to say it was like a 90s movie called First Knight. And it was about the story of King Arthur and his best knight, Sir Lancelot, was hooking up with his wife, Gwen. And I still can't see Larsa with Ash, with Queen Ash. But I would have loved to see some kind of dynamic with that, where maybe they were meant to be together, or they were, since she's the queen of Dalmasca and Larsa is the king or the emperor of Arcadia, and then Bosch was supposed to be his right-hand man. If he had Bosch go with her to kind of go and fight this big bad, and they could have started developing chemistry like that, and then that would have made conflict and stuff like that. Then we could have seen a different side of Larsa. Maybe, he acting like his brother Vayne. But that's just how my mind goes sometimes. It just, those wheels in my head start turning. The main aim of the story was to bring the entire Final Fantasy XII cast back for a final fight to save Evelance. Now I know what I just said about Larsa, and now I know that the fan theories, or what was said aftermath of Final Fantasy XII, that Ash actually ended up with him. I just never seen it, mainly probably because he was a kid during that time. I know this is 4 or 5 years after the fact. So Riveting Wings took place 2 years after the fact of the original story, and then 2 years after that. So I guess he's probably 17, 18 now. She's probably about 22, 23, around that age. But I just thought that Ash and Bosch would actually hook up, or there would be something there, because he was the one who actually saved or brought the body of her fiance, her husband, back to her. And then they had so much history within the kingdoms, and they both loved Dalmasca so much. In my own theory, I'm looking at it as, I can work with that. I can do something with this. The production of the game began in the second half of 2008, and the project was developed on a game engine that was compatible with PlayStation 3 and 360. The creative director and producer in the concept art, as well as the 3D assets and art, were under the director Andres Der Gier, and the game was led by the artist Eric Lifquist. I'm sorry, I'm butchering all these Swedish names. The art style of the game was supposed to be realistic and similar to the Elder Scrolls V, aka Skyrim, according to a level designer at Grin. The game was pitched by various publishers, and Japanese gaming company Square Enix took interest in the project, and Square Enix's president at the time, Yoichi Wada, visited Grin Studios several times, and he liked the whole concept of the action role-playing game. Square Enix was supposed to pay Grin Studios $16.5 million for the entire production of the Fortress in successive waves in accordance to the project's milestones. However, several months later went by without payment, costing the studio $12 million. Grin closed all of the offices except for the main one in Stockholm, but still no money came. And in 2009, Grin released Terminator Salvation, Wanted Weapons of Fate, and Bionic Commando to negate the reviews and poor sales, which caused further financial woes and seemed to make Square Enix nervous. So, long story short, Square Enix pulled a rug underneath Grim Studios. After the closure of Grim Studios, the existence of Fortress spread as mentions and concept art of the projects appeared in former employees' resumes and portfolios. In 2010, footage of an alleged tech demo of Fortress was leaked into the internet. Replying to a fan question in May of that year, David Hoffman, director of the business development of North American branch of Square Enix, mentioned Fortress without confirming its existence. An interview in 2011 with Electronic Entertainment Expo, E3, of Square Enix said that Fortress was suspended, saying the game won't be released. In 2012, music director Eric Thunberg posted a music track that was intended for the game. I had no idea, I had no clue that some of my theories were correct. And not only were some of my theories correct, but that there was an entire sequel to this game that maybe could have fixed some of the issues that I had with the original. Anyway, interweb, I just wanted to share this with you because, wow, did any of you guys know about Fortress or the potential love triangle that they could have done with Larsa, Ash, and Bosch? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you made it this far, please, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see more geekly gaming RPG content like this, make sure you subscribe. I make geekly videos all the time. And as always in the web, remember to eat, geek, sleep, repeat. I'll holler at you on the next one. Peace.